You get that link, Aaron? You're working on it?
It's in the announcement now. Are we live?
Cool. We're live, man. We're live. Hey, everybody. We'll give everybody a few minutes to jump in if they want and go that route. You mind you going to dox your location?
Sure.
Are you in some South American country right now?
I am. I'm in Brazil right now, in the state of São Paulo. It's south of Rio de Janeiro.
Nice, man. You move around, get around a lot more than most people I know. That's for dang sure. So you're always out and about.
Gotta keep busy.
That you do, dude. That you do. How many Discords do you help moderate these days?
Oh boy.
More than one?
4, maybe 5.
Well, only 4? What happened? I guess Web3 killed those too, huh? You were doing a bunch of Discord moderation for a while there. I mean, you were the go-to. You probably still are. There's just not as many people out there. So.
Well, yeah, the first real one was Jay Hughes once Gala and Mirandis went down. That was the first real one.
Yeah, well, here we are. We might as well get to it. We got a few people on here. Most people are probably going to listen to the recording. So welcome everybody that's actually listening. There's a few people on here. Glad you made it. This is to go over AMA questions and kind of chat through the potential GG Collective and DeEEP acquisition merger. So I'm not going to go into every single question and read through every single question because I would just be boring and me reading the question with the actual answer that we gave everybody. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and talk about where we're at here, where we're going, just kind of this whole transition of what we're looking at and why we're here. So again, you guys put through some questions and we answered those questions. If you still need an answer outside of that, please put it in this chat or ask for further clarification somewhere else. So we did the best we could to give you the full details of what we needed in there. And there's a couple that I'm going to go into detail on as we go through. But I'll just start, where we started. Because some of you know, some of you don't know. There was a lot of obvious with questions that came through that a lot of people didn't know where we started and who we are and where we're at. So, hi, I'm Nate, and I'm Nate Harper. I am the original founder of NerdNode. I'm also the original founder of the GG Collective. I'll get into that in just a minute. But where we started, I've been in the Bitcoin crypto ecosystem for a long, long time. And a friend of mine was a game developer and got into a company called Gala Games and was their original, his company was brought in to be a game developer for the Gala Games company to develop games and put them on the blockchain. What they did is they were going to run their stuff through nodes, meaning workloads. The actual game was going to run on there, token distributions. There was a bunch that these nodes were supposed to do and go through that route. I was early in that node ecosystem because I knew people, obviously. And one of the things that we saw early on was these nodes were really finicky and they needed a lot of work and a lot of attention to them all the time to make sure people got their rewards. There was a guy in the Gala Discord who was running some for people, and then he ended up getting hired by Gala. He helped me out early on, and I actually offered to purchase his business from him. He didn't want that. He was just like, nah, I'll just recommend stuff for people to go to you if you want to start that up. So I did. I started NerdNode. Had a couple employees that worked with me. And then we started running nodes for friends and people I knew, and just started to be able to stand those up and make it easy for them so they didn't have to, manage them. Simple process. And that started with Gala. We expanded it out into other node ecosystems like Miria. There's some early on ones that didn't really amount to much, but there was quite a few different early nodes. Playable came on later, and then some other ones. During that time frame early on, I brought in, Ben and Chris, we had a history together, funny history in terms of we had a couple businesses that were located in the same building and we never knew each other. We were local in town. They were in the IoT industry, and their business was on the second or the main floor, and mine was on the second floor. And so we kind of had passings, but never really knew each other. But one of my business partners at this time when NerdNode was going, introduced us because he had invested into their business and knew them and what they were doing and what my vision was in terms of wanting to decentralize the compute side of things and not just make it so I'm running everything on AWS. Because the idea of Web3 was to decentralize things, and everybody was running on AWS. So I brought Ben and Chris in, kind of told them my vision of what I wanted to do, and we started that process. We started first to create our own hardware. The potential idea was going to be, we have little data centers that are going to be owned by the people, or shared owned. And that soon and quickly transitioned into what you guys know now as DeEEP Network. So that was the NerdNode kind of Chris and Ben timeframe, bringing NerdNode into it. In that timeframe that they came on, we grew fairly rapidly in terms of workloads that were on board. In that was the key indicator for us to go to the DeEEP Network, because we knew when we saw that there was going to be this ability to now transfer that hardware cost to the people that were out there and run that on there and reward those people for running those workloads that were on there. During that time frame, we started DeEEP Network, or developing it. And as many businesses do, there's a lot of changes and additions and a lot of crazy things that happened, not just in Web3 and that side, but just in terms of us in the development of the actual infrastructure. So we went down one route, changed it, turned it into another route, and then finally settled on what you guys now know today is how we're running it. So that's kind of brings us close to where we're at now. I'll talk about Web3 and what that's done with us. But during that time frame, again, early on, about the time frame I was in the NerdNode side, I also was very involved with the Gala game side, and early really loved the idea. Obviously, that's why I got into it and saw a vision of what it could do for the gaming industry. And there was a lot of people like that in there, and I met a lot of different people, whether it be in events or just online and whatnot. And one of my visions was, and I saw this with Axie Infinity, was the cost of NFTs were just astronomical, right? Most people couldn't afford them. As they started to get expensive to really play in a game, the reality is, who wants to buy even $100, $300, $1,000 NFT to play in the game? Not a lot. There's a very few of those. And then we started to see NFTs going to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in terms of sales, not just in Gala, but in other ecosystems. When you look at like Star Atlas even, and what they were selling their T1s for, right? So it's an insane amount of money that's there. So the idea was to create a DAO that had ownership and had money in it to be able to purchase the assets that the people part of that DAO really believed in the game and wanted to be a part of that, to then be able to earn from it and then utilize it as, whether it's a guild or rent it out, any of those factions that are in there. It played into the model that the Web3 gaming industry was going down with these large NFTs, whether you agreed with them or not. It created that ability that was supposed to be there. So it's just Aaron left me. That's all right. I'll get him back on. So we started the GG. Took a while to get going. It started because Gala was early, was going to be the Gala Games DAO. Is what it was GG. But as we started to see Gala fail and do a lot of things that people really didn't like, we still had the vision of the Web3 side. And so we changed it from not just, GG as in Gala Games. We just changed it to GG as in good game, right? And so we wanted to focus on the Web3 gaming industry, and we hadn't even started the DAO yet. And so as we moved down, then we got all the infrastructure of how we wanted to do it. We then deployed out the GG Collective as a DAO, and it was a Reg CF fundraise. The reason we did a Reg CF was because we were looking to share revenue, and in order to share revenue in the U.S., you have to KYC. You have to, and if you're going to raise money on that, you have to do it with the SEC in a regulatory manner. And so that's what we did. And the guidelines were there, and we were able to do that. And so we started the GG Collective. There was about 94 original investors, 94, 95 original investors that were in there. We fell far short of what we were looking to raise. Part of the reason that happened was the timing of the raise, but also we couldn't accept crypto in the raise. We had a lot of people that were wanting to invest, but wanted to invest in crypto. And when they couldn't invest in crypto, they just didn't invest. But regardless, it started the flywheel. And there's some great people in there that have been doing some good stuff with the DAO in terms of what a DAO is. Not necessarily, the investment side of it, but in terms of how it's operated. So, and that's GG. GG's moved forward from there, and that's where the GG is at. That's where it started. And Chris, as we put in the Discord, Chris Corrado, during that time frame, he knew I was pushing this forward, and I never asked him to or pushed him to invest in it. He just invested on his own. Ben did not invest. So out of the founders here, I was an investor, and then Chris was an investor. I've gotten nothing from GG at all. I've only put money into GG. I then, put money into starting it, and then put money and invested into it. I've never taken a penny from it. And that's all in the books of the GG Collective and everything that's gone into it. So I didn't even get tokens as, being a founder of it. That's never came to me. So as a founder of the GG and the GG Collective, it was more on the lines of creating a DAO that can operate the way it's operating. So that brings you up to speed where we're at. Those are the two factions that are there. So what's happened over the last year and a half is what we've seen, and really it's about a year. It started with Gala and their change in their node ecosystem. Obviously, we were heavy Gala, but we were just distributed through a bunch of different ecosystems. Gala was our largest client. We made a big change in their node ecosystem, which affected every node owner. And essentially what it did, so people understand, is Gala node owners, they already owned the node. They were getting their distribution from running it. What they pushed through is you now had to stake. And at the time, it was equivalent to about $12,000 or $11,000. If you can remind me, Rusty, you probably remember.
I don't remember the exact amount, but it was something crazy.
It was something crazy. So ultimately, to get distribution, the same distribution that you were used to getting, you would have to have staked. It was $10,000 to $12,000 worth of Gala. So if you didn't have that and you had already been selling it, you would have to buy that off the market to then stake it and then earn that from there. So that was a huge hit across the Gala ecosystem for us. And then what we saw was current nodes that we were running, like Myria, they just stopped, within this last year, they just stopped their node ecosystem, which killed a lot of our business as well. Playable they were supposed to be a one node, you run it at a time. They changed it to you can run one node, and if you have 50 nodes in there, you'll get rewards for 50 nodes. And then they just took away the ability to have to run the node in general at all again, and went back to their old model where you had a node, you just got distributions. So again, that killed a portion of what we were there. All the new node ecosystems that we brought on, that you guys were around seeing a lot of the stuff that was going in. You had early on was a lot of LFG nodes, Metafloras. I can't even think of the names of them now.
Helix,
Datagram. We had those, which we got some stuff through there, but it really was just kind of a market that was tough for those people, and they were selling nodes pretty expensive for people to go on. We saw other node ecosystems like Grid that came out and sold nodes. Great idea of what they were trying to do, and you talk to a lot of people that's in there, and they didn't even launch the token. People bought nodes and were running nodes, and they didn't even launch a token either. And then there's a Beamable was another example. There's all these examples, right, throughout this last year and a half. Node ecosystems jumping out to try and sell these nodes or deploy them out, and then just not following through, not being able to continue forward, whether it be from the market or whatnot. It was a rough market for a lot of people, and so that affected our revenues, bringing us to where we're at now, right? So one of the reasons we wanted to be able, we could do this as we extrapolated this out, was we had the revenues there, and it made sense to be able to take that revenue and put it into development of the actual network. During that time, as we deployed that network out in late November, when we were starting to deploy those workloads onto the network, our revenue had dropped already drastically into like by 50%. It was quick. And so our whole goal was always to get into Web 2. Web 3 was going to be our platform to get out there, get deployed, and push out and get revenue. And then we were forced to push into Web 2 sooner than we wanted to. Clawbot or whatever is it? Clawbot. Yeah, that was one of our first ones we tried to push out there, which is running. It does its thing, and we get some workloads. But with the amount of revenue that was decreasing there, we didn't have a ton that was available to push into the marketing side. Right. Again, this was all funded by us internally. We didn't do any raise or anything like that. We took our revenues from our company that was coming in and put it into the network to build it. And you guys were a part of that, right? Like you came in, you bought devices, deployed them out there, and we put this into the network. So fast forward to where we're at now, we decreased our revenue close to 70%. We've had to decrease employment with us. Partially, some of it was, just not needed employment, and some of it was, kind of a mutual, like, hey, stay on. We need you for a little while longer. Let's hold on to it. But we have some core developers, right? Essentially right now, our revenue is paying for the developers and the actual, the cost of running the network, period. And, again, myself, Chris, Ben, the founders haven't taken a penny. We haven't taken any dollars from this at all. So, we've paid employees and to help develop this and move it forward. So where we're at now, why this move? The DAO itself has always been a part of the roadmap. There's been some talk in between. Do we do a DAO before we start? Do we do a DAO after? And when I say start, I mean the token, right? The token launch itself. And it's been back and forth internally. But what does starting a DAO mean? Well, it costs money to start a DAO, right? It's not free. There's development costs that go into, voting mechanisms. There's legal fees, which are the largest ones that go into it. So having a DAO that is ready in there, and again, is it really, has a whole lot with it outside of some assets under management. It presented an opportunity for us to talk with some of the team at the collective and say, hey, here's what we're looking to do. And so hence why we brought this together as an LOI, letter of intent, to potentially purchase all of NerdNode's IP and DeEEP's IP and bringing it into the collective, right? So to explain that to people a little bit further and in depth is, beforehand, you guys were going to, earn a token for running workloads and being a part of the network, right? That was, a pretty straight line ecosystem that was there. That's not out of the realm still, by the way. That's still possible if this merger happens with the GG collective, right? And LOI doesn't mean it's happening. It's just a letter of intent, just so everybody is on the level and clear what's here. So deep tokens can still happen if that's what people want. But what the DAO now gives us is it gives us a voting mechanism. And then by us, we're essentially giving all of the IP, everything that goes in there, every potential for revenue generation, not just workloads, but leasing of the IP or white label NASs or node launch platforms, all these things that we've been developing along the way to help us create more revenue internally to develop and push this out is now going to be a part of the GG Collective, which the DeEEP Network is now going to be a part of, and will earn directly GG tokens, to be a part of that, not just revenue from a workload being on your device. Okay, so what does that mean? It means you're not necessarily an owner, but you have a direct access to voting rights. There's treasury and potential revenue share. If there's revenue share internally, you can put in a vote. You can vote on things. That's going in there. And it also includes everything else that's going to be a part of the GG Collective. So there are other assets that are under management, and there's other companies that have been talking to the collective about deploying with them and games specifically, because that's where we started, obviously. But the idea is bringing revenue through the collective itself. And so all that revenue can now be shared with the GG token holders. So this allowed us to, in our eyes, what we built with our money and your guys' help and your money and your deployment of the workloads is essentially being able to give this and that revenue potential to the community, right? So that's the reason we chose this route. There was other routes that were potentially out there. We've had people that have been talking to us about purchasing our IP and or leasing our IP. Most of them have been about purchasing it because we have built an orchestration layer that a lot of people see a lot of value with. So, sorry, I'm gonna drink something here. Talking too much. Last of my coffee. So that's kind of where we're at and where we're coming from and why we're moving in that direction. I wanted to address one thing for sure that wasn't addressed in my eyes as clearly in the write-up that we sent out on the FAQs, and that's KYC stuff. So in the GG Collective, in order to invest in the GG Collective, so if there's another round that goes out and GG tokens are sold, to be able to invest in that, you have to KYC. In order to vote in the GG Collective, you have to KYC. And why is that on a vote side? The reason we set it up for the vote side, because we could easily just set it up of one wallet that has GG in it can vote. But what we wanted to do is steer away from what we've seen in a lot of DAOs is a structure where you have a lot of whale control, and the whales can come in and buy a bunch of GG or invest a bunch in it to then change the direction that they want to go. And we've seen it recently. I think it was it Doge? Doge, the most recent one in Doge. We saw it early on in the Uniswap DAO vote. So this allows us to KYC a wallet and have it and be a part of the actual network and vote in that network. And it's one vote per wallet. So you could have 1 million GG in a wallet, but you're only going to get one vote. And you can only have one wallet per KYC. And you can't KYC the same person for a different wallet. So it doesn't work that way. So that's why we set up the GG in that direction. Is it possible to set up a DeEEP device voting mechanism only? Yes, there's a potential for that as well. In terms of DeEEP devices, if it's a direct network vote that can potentially come down, that might be something that's in there because each device itself has an NFT that's tied to it. You still are going to get the whale aspect to it. Just for instance, GG owns 80 devices, right? So if you did a device per vote, they're going to get 80 votes, right? And I know quite a few people that have bought, 10 or 12. They're going to get, 10 or 12 votes. But yeah, so that was why we set the GG up that way. And again, a lot of this can change, right? For DeEEP device owners here now, moving to the collective, so everybody's, totally aware. The last vote, what did we have? 13, 14. There was 15 votes, technically 16 if Chris would have voted or abstained, because I abstained from the vote. And if Chris voted, he would have abstained as well. But So that's only 16 out of 94. And it's like one of the higher votes that we've had in a long time. The original votes, I think the max was even 18 or 20 out of 94 people. So a lot of those people just invested in the token to invest in the token and not actually want to participate in the DAO governance votes. So the DeEEP device owners, as we move to distributing GG token to those device owners, are going to be the larger share of it. And to be fair, those probably 16 or 19 people that are voting, probably 75% of them own a DeEEP device as well, or more than one DeEEP device. They've been along for both rides. And so they're one and the same people. So you DeEEP device owners, they're DeEEP device owners as well. So, but this gives access to, this starts the flywheel of community owned, community, action. What really is going to benefit the network? There's a lot of ideas get flown around, and it can, whether we agree with it or not, now can be beside the point. It can be the network that decides, right? In the GG network. I find a lot of value in it. That's why I started the GG Collective a long time ago. And a lot of people that are talking about DAO votes, and they're wanting to vote on this, they obviously feel that same way because they want to vote in it because they've put their money towards being a part of the network. This is our next step in that momentum. So that's kind of where we're at here. And Galano Guy asked, are treasury tokens eligible for revenue share? Yes, treasury tokens are eligible. They're all, sorry, let me clarify. The GG treasury tokens, they are not getting revenue share. If there's revenue that's to be distributed, which will be voted on by the collective itself, as in all GG token holders, the GG itself does not get a vote. There's no managerial vote on there. It's only KYC wallets. So those treasury tokens that are held in there do not get revenue share. So it's only the token holders in those KYC wallets. So in order to get revenue share through the GG, you do have to KYC. Now, you don't have to KYC to earn a token because the device itself is doing work in the network itself. And so by that, the GG can distribute GG token to those device owners. You can do with it what you want in that GG token. Do you want to participate in it? Do you want to just hold it until there's revenue there and then KYC and earn revenue? You can do that, right? Or you can go on the open market and sell it. There are no plans right now to list it. One of the main reasons is because there's no real reason to list the token when you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to actually create a listing, and you have to do it with a regulatory centralized exchange that allows securities, which there's a lot of them now with all the new regulations coming through. So that's the good news. Can it be listed? Yes. Can we do that? Yes. Les says, will there be a vote to launch the DeEEP token at a later date? With the good news about the Clarity Act, how likely is it for us to move to utility token model versus governance token model? Again, it's gonna be up to you guys as a network, right? I'm all for it. I think there's some tokenomics that should change from the original tokenomics model to make it a true integrated utility token. But that can be brought up. I bring up my ideas that are there, but I think that's a 100% possibility, and that's going to be up to you. I'm not leading that charge. I mean, I can. I'm a GG member as well. I'm going to be more cautious because I've been that way the whole time of making sure that the actual Clarity Act is there. How would someone start the vote? Well, there's a whole process within the GG itself. There's a GG portal that has the ability for somebody to put through proposals, right? So in this last proposal that I put through, once I talked through everybody with the actual the vote mechanism or the actual LOI side, you go through, you answer a few questions, you be as thorough as you possibly can to put in that vote, and then you stake 25 GG. If the vote passes, you get your 25 GG back. If the vote does not pass, you do not get your 25 GG. So it behooves you to make a good voting, a a good story for your vote or a good pitch for your vote of why it's going to benefit the GG, the network, and everybody else. So it's a really simple process. It's all on AVAX. So again, works well in terms of how we're looking to operate, sticking in the AVAX ecosystem. So yeah, hope that answered that question. What else do we got outside of that, Rusty? What should I touch on, do you think?
Give me 2 minutes. Let me go look at the form.
Yeah, I got it up here too. So there it is. The KYC one, I wanted to make sure it covered for people. Like, again, to be clear, to earn the GG token, you do not have to KYC. In order to vote and or earn revenue share, you have to KYC. And to be clear, even with the Clarity Act coming into play, the revenue share side, as we're seeing this law come into play, like a direct revenue share for work being done on your device, we would have had to make people KYC that way. Now, there is a potential way around that, and that's what I'm talking about in the tokenomics change that I would propose if we move this forward in the GG Collective, to where the revenue isn't a direct one-to-one in terms of, like, if you ran a $10 workload on your device, you got $5. It would be all tokens would come into the ecosystem and be burnt. And the ones that go out would be to the people that are actually doing work on the network. And you would get multipliers because you have higher internet, you have, dedicated IPs, you have, whatever, a lot of different things you can add to, and you get those multipliers in there. So the people that are providing more work or at least better access on the network, better compute on the network, they would get a higher multiplier. That's not anywhere there. That's completely off course here. Sorry, I diverted, but that's kind of some of the ideas that would get rid of that KYC side. And it would keep it within that Clarity Act commodity type token. So when people think about revenue share, that you're earning revenue, it makes it difficult in a lot of countries, not just the US, of if you're earning from doing something, you have to KYC. Like, the government wants to know who's making money and why. So that's what it is. So with KYC, will the tax information be easy to gather for device owners? Yeah. So there's quarterly reports that go out internally from the GG when there's anything that has to be published for all the GG owners. So if you're getting revenue through rev share through the GG, there would be, ultimately, I can't remember the form. It's 1099, something like that. No, that's a contractor form. Whatever it is, you'll get that form sent to you. So that's part of the KYC
dividend
process.
Form or something like that.
Yeah, it's not a dividend. I forget. I have to dig into that. So we haven't given out any revenue share in the GG, so we haven't had to do any of that. But we have all the processes set in place for that when we do give out revenue. Did you find anything else out?
Could you talk a little? Where was it? About the so we've mentioned a few times where people who no longer want to participate in the network can wipe their DeEEP devices. Can you maybe go a little bit on what that process is going to look like in August?
Yeah. So ultimately, what we're planning on doing is putting it on the dashboard for your device itself, and you'll be able to log in on that dashboard. There will be a terms and conditions on there that you'll have to agree to, and then you'll get the download to be able to wipe your device. It's going to be fairly simple. We're going to make it as easy as we can. The reason we put it at August is Ben has been in China talking with hardware vendors and stuff like that. He's been out of pocket for a long time. So he's been busy, but he's the one that's pushing that one out. So yeah. So we're going to make it easy as possible for people that don't want this and they want to, get out of the network, and they can do that. So I'm going to answer. So Galano guy said, with this deal, won't there be a lot more GG tokens out there? Wouldn't that seriously dilute any revenue sharing amounts per token? There are going to be more tokens out there for sure. But to the process that we're looking to do, the way this is working is what we want to do is we want the GG Collective to, and part of the LOI is the GG Collective would now go out and get a a third-party evaluation of NerdNode and all of the IP that is developed over the last 5 years that we've put in there. And there's a lot. Like obviously there's Deep Network, but there's other things like white label NASs. There's node launch platforms that haven't even been deployed yet that are there. There's a lot that we've put into play in terms of the orchestration layer that we've developed is one of the most looked at by other people on us. So what we want the collective to do is to go out and get a third-party valuation, which would instantly give their treasury value. So if nice round numbers, I'm not saying this is what it's worth. So nice round numbers, if they get a valuation and it's worth $10 million for all of the IP that's in there, the GG now can show they have $10 million worth of an asset within their ecosystem. And they can go to many different third-party, people that help with raises and whatnot to do another raise, whether it be a Reg CF again with crowdfund or a Reg A. There's a couple different options that would be looked at, and then they can go out and raise against that, because there is that value there and the potential for much more value going forward, especially getting out of this hopefully bear market with some Clarity Act stuff coming around and seeing Web3 kind of come back into play. But again, not just that, like Web2, like obviously Web2's there. We've just been hamstrung with, revenues being low and not being able to develop as much as we wanted to. So that raise, that money that comes in from that raise, they would get GG token for that. But what we didn't do in terms of what we wanted to make sure was that the GG was going to have cash available and value in all of the IP itself. So then, yes, there's more GG token out there, but then there's also more value in the actual treasury itself. And there's cash in the treasury that can be used to then further, deploy out, hire and push out new stuff that we really want to do to generate revenue internally. So, and then not just that, there's other companies that we're talking to that want to be a part of the GG as well. And in similar fashions, either potentially doing a ownership share or IP transfer, something along those lines to come into the GG collective itself. So it's not just building it with NerdNode and DeEEP, it's building it with everything else that we can bring into play. And with that is what you, the community, can use that we've built as well. Are you out there looking to, push workloads? Well, great. We've got a white label NAS. You can start to utilize that. And it's a very easy, simple platform. Basically looks just like NerdNodes, but it'll be your own. Do you know companies, or are you looking to launch a node in an ecosystem? We have the ability, and with the Clarity Act coming into play, we have the ability to launch Dockerized containers on the DeEEP network. We can do that right now. What that does is you could put, a litany of different types of workloads onto that Dockerized container to show real work being done in the form of a node that people run. And with that being then under the governance of the GG collective, you have two of the big main factors that people would need to be able to launch a token in a Clarity Act compliant ecosystem. So it's a big deal. Again, this put us way behind too, because we were hoping this was going to be launched last year. So we could push into the Web2 ecosystem with what we've built to help a lot of people that are looking to get into the ecosystems in that round. So there was a long answer to that, but to kind of like wrap it up, will it dilute the token? It's not going to dilute the token, because you have to look at the token as the value of what the treasury is and what it can potentially be. So what's that going to look like? When we did the first raise, it was $1 a token. So where's it go? I can't speculate, but I was all the way up on comments. Was there anything? What else did I miss in here?
Do you have an estimate on when the third-party audit or review of NerdNode DeEEP would happen?
As soon as we have a contract signed, so right now the LOI was approved through the GG collective, and now it's going through with the collective itself and talking about actually the fine details of what this means and getting agreement upon that. And once that's signed and into place, then And we've already been looking, have been helping them look at a few different places that are out there for that, third-party valuations. And then it's a matter of getting that. Usually takes a few weeks for them to go in and look at it and analyze what we have. So I want to answer this one because this is one that a lot's there. And it's not really a question. It's just more of a statement. Penny Layer 27. Simply, it was easy to take our funds, but very hard to get some back just to break even. I think we're all just wanting some returns. And I feel you. I mean, I've put in not just in terms of money into NerdNode and the development of DeEEP from my own personal pockets, like actual real dollars to the tune of millions of dollars to develop this, right? Between myself and all of the founders, we've put real money into it, to the tunes of millions of dollars to develop this, not just lost wages that we didn't pay ourselves, and not just potential income that we took from NerdNode, because we were a profitable company and we put it into new employees to help develop this out. So not just from that either, right? Like I bought my own devices with, again, my own debit card, right? Like I didn't hand them to myself as a founder. In the same way in the GG, I didn't hand myself any GG token, right? I've bought all that stuff. So I feel your pain. I understand that. The reason that we brought this together is we feel that this is the quickest, fastest way to get to a token that can have value for people, to whether you want to sell it and try to, create some sort of ROI from that, if that's what you're looking for, or if you want to hold it and participate and be a part of the governance vote and push stuff forward and really kind of build on the network that we have right now. Like we've got a great network, and the last 12 months has really just hurt us in terms of revenue to be able to push forward with some stuff. And then obviously the Clarity Act and wanting to get that going forward. So we're not closing up shop. Like, there's an option there. We just say, oh, well, we lost money. Let's just go the other way and see what happens. But we're looking to continue what we've built, right? We got something great here. And we think there's a lot there. So I understand. I feel your pain. I feel it a lot, trust me. So just launching a token doesn't give anything to you guys right now. If you listen to where I was talking about earlier, revenue in the ecosystem was supposed to be the flywheel. Our revenue has dropped drastically. So if we launch a token with no flywheel in terms of revenue that comes into play, what does that mean for you guys, right? Well, most people are going to try and get ROI, and you launch that token. We've seen it with every single token that's launched, right? What happens when there's no flywheel in there? It goes to zero. Maybe not zero, but it just dumps, right? Yeah. I mean, Rusty's got a couple stories of those, I think.
Oh yeah.
So we're trying our best to make sure that we're in a position so it can continue forward in a way that works. So does it look like external evaluation will be done by end of August? Potentially. I would say there's potential for it to be done by end of August. Depends on who we go with and how long they're going to take. Some can get it done within a couple weeks. Some might take a month. So, but the evaluation does not discontinue our movement forward. We're not hinged on what that valuation is. If it comes back as $100 or $100 million, it doesn't matter for us. We're moving forward with utilizing the GG as a platform to continue the development and movement forward of the DeEEP Network and NerdNode. So the evaluation is just a path for us to help get some more money to push it forward, if that's possible, or if we get some regulations and crypto pumps again, or we get some other Web 2 workloads. All are on the table that we're looking to do. So when do you expect the devices will start receiving GG tokens? I don't want to misspeak. What did we put in the first FAQ, Aaron?
Let me
I think it was October 1st. Am I misspeaking there?
If you want to answer another question, I'll go pull that up while you answer something else.
I'll answer another question. So, so being a device owner who earns GG opens me to new tax liabilities. You were open to tax liabilities earning a token. So, like a token, if it has value and you earn it through your node, you're open to tax liabilities. So, regardless of what you were looking at there, it's a different form of revenue. It's a token, the same as the other one was a token, but there's potential revenue share that's tied to it. So if you want the revenue share, it's still a tax liability, it's still income, right? When you look at it that way.
So we said a potential formal transition to GG would be August 31st, but that's a potential transition according to the documentation.
What did it say? I'm sorry.
August 22nd.
So but that won't be the first time they get GG token. So we had processes of by August 31st was when GG is to start counting when and who's going to get tokens for that month of September. And so the people that are up, they get that uptime and essentially what it's looking at is plug-in and utilization rewards. So they have uptime and the proper internet. So that September would be the first distribution on October 1st. That makes sense. So August 31st, GG takes over monitoring the actual uptime and internet access of the devices on the network. October 1st would be the first distribution. I think it was in the FAQs, or maybe it was in the first letter we put out.
Yeah, I was looking at the one that Chris posted originally, but the one you just recently posted, that's what I'm reading now.
I think it's the original letter. It's either under that one, but that's the process I remember now. So it's August 31st. GG is monitoring and showing who's up online for the month of September. First distribution is October 1st, and it's a monthly distribution. So you have time. So if you're down a day, it's not going to kill your distribution for that day. So, let's see. Yeah. So Punjab says, "Am I missing something? What is revenue paid out in USDC GG?" So you have GG token is distributed to the device owners that are running it. GG is not revenue share. GG is the reward for putting work into the network. GG is your path to revenue share. So when the collective has revenue to share and is voted on, we have excess and we want to revenue share, or look at it like a dividend of a company. We have enough that we're going to send dividends out. You guys are the GG holders, have a share in that, and will receive that, and it will most likely be in USDC, but that will be voted on. Maybe people want it in Doge token. What do you think about that, Rusty?
Choice.
Just everybody says, "Oh, let's invest in Doge," and then we all get Doge rev
I'm
share.
happy with XRP too.
XRP, come on, man. Let's see. Yeah, so you already told them that it's up to a GG resolution, but it was a good question. Like, these are questions that I'm glad we're talking about, because people will have those. So. Let me rephrase what I'm talking about. Yeah, so again, you have the GG token itself is an earned reward from running on a network. And you have to talk to your CPA and your tax people in general, but there is no market on GG itself in terms of what the worth is of GG. So it would be hard to get any type of actual, hey, I have to pay X amount of dollars for what I earned in GG, until there is a real market that's out there, whether it be on a decentralized exchange or a centralized exchange, showing dollar value of what that GG token would be worth. And then that would be a real revenue. And revenue share, obviously, if it's distributed in USDC or any token that has value, you would have that as a revenue share, which would show up as real income. So is there anything we have to do from our part as a node holder at this transition? Nothing yet. The only time you would have to do something is once you get GG, if you want to participate in votes, you need a KYC, as I spoke about earlier. Or if there's revenue share and you want to earn revenue share on top of the GG token, you would have to KYC. So,
well, we also discussed how soon we're going to have the 95% uptime and the 100 down and 20 up, but that's not implemented yet.
Not yet, but it will be looked at as the GG goes forward. So we're going to look at uptime and actual internet that you have. So, and I believe it's 95% uptime. Punjab asked, so what kind of work have you been looking at for these devices? Anything outside nodes? Yes. I mean, again, we go back to, we launched OpenClaw. It was like our first Web 2 workloads. Anything that could be put into a Dockerized container is a workload we can run. And we've been talking to different companies, over the last couple of years, honestly, well, about 18 months for this. Again, Clarity Act comes in the way with that. There's other stuff that's being looked at and pushed out. If, again, we're bringing this to the community itself. I know people that are developing stuff like marketing apps where people can come in and they can put in all their information and tie it to their Twitter account or the YouTube account, and it will run a marketing campaign for them, whichever way they want. So that's something that's going to be ran on the DeEEP network through a Dockerized container. So you can now pay, don't know what the price is going to be when it comes out, but you'll be able to do that. But anything along those lines, that's the thing that we have here. We have the ability to run so many different types of workloads. And with that, with companies themselves, that they push it out. So this person that has that marketing app is going to get a white label NAS so they can market themselves and push it out to people to help come in and run those workloads, or not run the workloads, to run that marketing app for themselves. So it's a pretty slick deal. Let's see here. Start running validators instead of all nodes. Don't make money, just asking. Let's see here. Any news on Warp? To be completely honest, Todd, is I've reached out to Warp multiple times, and they are not getting back to me. That's not true. I've had people that no longer work for Warp get back to me telling me they no longer work for Warp. I've had conversations with Matt many a times, and he has ghosted me over the last few weeks. So if you ping him in the Discord, which I have, see what's going on. I don't know. I know just as much as everybody else does from the Discord, and it's frustrating. Again, these are the type of companies that were. There was a lot more with Warp in terms of what we were looking to do. Like we were looking at making them their own white label NAS, like we did with Beamable. We had a contract signed with them. There was a lot of stuff that they did not give us that was required on that. So, yeah, interesting. So, Marius Cameron asks how you can reset it. We answered that early on, so you can go back and you can listen to it again. I don't want to answer the same questions over again because we're already coming up on 52 minutes. So, and yes, Jaco 7706. All the specs are in the actual AMA questions that we answered. There's an actual direct link to the MS01 site itself, which shows the specs and the current price that they have on there. And when we last looked, they were out of stock. So, I mean, if you guys want to sell them, they're actually, there's people out there that probably want those devices. So. So Galanode guy, Flywheel, if I understand correctly, the original plan was that Web3 service owners would have to pay hosting fees and DeEEP token, thus they would have to purchase token, new plan. So the original plan was they wouldn't have to pay in DeEEP token. The node as a service provider is like NerdNode. And again, we created a white label NAS, so it wasn't just NerdNode that was providing these. They can take in US dollars and convert it into DeEEP token, which would then have to go in and pay the ecosystem, which would pay for the utility of it. This current plan right now is work being done will be by the devices will be distributed GG token, just straight up. So meaning right now it's plugging in with 95% uptime and the proper internet, you'll get GG token and you'll get that distributed to you. There's nothing on the workload side. The workload side comes into play when there's enough revenue coming in to distribute. And that will go through the GG collective as a revenue share. So that is the difference. Still doing work on the network. You're still getting a token that's just, sending it to you guys. And there's still a plan, for a rev share. Yeah, running more validators will make people money instead of running nodes or NFTs. Yeah, we do. We have AVAX validators on the site itself. We have the ability to run ETH validators. One of the things that we've ran into with both of those is it's really a lot of people don't care about. This is the sad part in the Web3 ecosystem. They don't care about decentralization. So you have a lot of these companies that are running these validators for people for very cheap. Some of them charge quite a bit, but they don't get a lot of their revenue through those. They get them through bulk investor type validation ecosystems. So there it is out there. We do have that ability to push those out and run those. So it just comes down to marketing. How many people are going to be out there, and how much tech work and support work do we have to put in on the backside to make sure it's up and running? We have, it's just because it's up and running doesn't mean there's not back end issues that have to be fixed. So that becomes part of the issue that we see here. Getting close to that 1 hour mark.
Also note we're also running Beam validators, not Beamable, but Beam. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I believe they're doing real work like ETH and AVAX validators.
Yeah, Beam is actually an AVAX validator. It's a whatever their L1 side. They were one of the first L1s, sovereign L1s on AVAX. So we've been running those for a while. Yeah, again, ETH validators is essentially very similar to AVAX validators. We have the ability to push those out. We just have not seen the market want for pushing that out there. So we've had a couple people that have wanted ETH validators. We haven't done any marketing for it. If we put ETH validators on there and we're running 1 or 2, and the actual tech work behind it to keep them up and running is, more than that, it doesn't make sense for us. So until we can push it into a larger market with a marketing campaign, it doesn't make sense for us to start it up yet. So, because what we don't want to do is start an ETH validator and then have, issues that come up that we have to then, maintain for just a few people. So, yeah. And apparently all the distribution, that's all labeled out in the actual in a couple of the Medium articles we put out. So, all right. Close enough to an hour. There's nothing else. If you guys have more questions, put it in the Discord. I do want to address one thing. It's been brought up a couple times. And most recently this morning was, you asked people, you said specifically to me, saying you ask people to leave when they're just asking questions. And that's not true. I want everybody to ask questions. You are free to ask questions. You're free to tell me that I'm wrong too, that it's not the right way. I fully will take that responsibility. But if you're going to come out and call myself or my founders a scammer, or you're going to lash out at Rusty because he's doing his job in a vile manner, I will time you out, or Rusty will time you out, because you're not being helpful. If you want to have discourse, you want to talk about other options that are out there, please do. It's an open platform for that. But the moment you're going to get out of control and you're going to name call or do something that's not constructive in that Discord, you'll be timed out, and if it happens again, you'll be banned. Because we just don't need to deal with that. It's not constructive for anybody. It's not constructive for the other people that are a part of the Discord that are wanting to hear answers. And I'm not saying you can't disagree. Please, if you do, have a constructive conversation with us and what it means. And please read the stuff we put out. Please listen to what we're saying here, and go that route. And if you still listen to everything we say and everything that we're going about and you don't agree with it, then we're giving you an option to leave the network, right? Most of these companies aren't giving you that option, and we're going to give you that option. Is it later than you wanted? Probably. We still wanted a token too. Like, we all get it, but it's coming, and you'll be able to get out and utilize your device in a manner that you want to use it for, whether you sell it or put it as a Steam machine, which I know a couple people want to do. So I just want to put that out there for people. Please, be kind to the people in here. Like, we've all put money in there and time and effort, and this isn't how we envision it, but that's how business goes, man. Like, I've started a few businesses, and they all start out one way and they turn into something completely different. And yeah, man, we still have some great stuff. So I'm excited still. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that can come about with this. My biggest excitement is that we get a DAO. You guys get to be a part of that, and show where your vote really lies. What do you really want to do? I'm going to answer one more question because it came in before my little rant. so the biggest use case at the moment is a white label NAS. Not necessarily the white label NAS is kind of ancillary. It's part of the IP that we built out. What we built it for was to attract. Really, we started out to attract social media influencers. We gave them a platform to push out workloads and earn from that. So to give you an idea what that is, Jaco, normally in the industry, an influencer will go out and say, hey, go run your Beam node over here. They do this and this. It's great. And they shoot a little video and it says, go run it at this place over here. And you click on that link, you run your little node over there. And that person, that influencer will get 10% of that sale. So if it was a $10 sale, they're going to get $1. That's all they get. They get that for that one time. Again, the way we've been building this out is to attract more people and more people in the network itself. And so when we originally started it, was we wanted to give more to these influencers to give them stake in the game. And so we built it out to where they were getting 17% of the sale that would come in, and it was a reoccurring sale. So every month that person charged $10, they were going to get $1.70 every single time that would go through that. That's a huge difference from what they were getting before. And the other part is what we saw at NerdNode is we had, for every customer that we had on, they had about, on average, 4 nodes that were there. And if that person signed up for a node on that other ecosystem, he would still just get $1, right? But with this ecosystem, it's a business in a box. And that influencer would essentially earn on top of that one node they first signed up, but they had the ability to get that person to sign up for all their nodes in that ecosystem. And now they get paid 17% on every single one of those that come through. So if it's 4 nodes and it's now $40, $1.70 times 4, whatever that is in my head, $6.80, $6.80, something along those lines. So for those, that's how we developed it. Is the white label NAS was specifically for these influencers to go out. And we had a few that kind of started, but didn't really put the effort behind it. It came in late when the ecosystems were dying. It was a little rough. It's there. The concept of it is still very, very valid. And it can be translated into not just nodes, but it can be translated into Web 2 workloads. It can be translated into anything else. So it's essentially a business in a box. Again, that produces revenue by producing workloads in the network. So that's a big deal itself. The use case of it is across the board and not just for influencers. So we tested it out with people like Beamable, right? In that business itself. If they're launching a node, they have the most throughput on where those nodes are going to be ran. So for us, we're like, hey, Beamable, you should be a white label NAS, because they're now going to want to push everything to their white label NAS, which essentially pushes it to you guys in the network. So again, it can be extrapolated out into all these ecosystems. But again, as it started to deploy, not a bad idea at all. It's a great idea. Still a really great idea. It just didn't get the commitment and work and in the Web3 ecosystem that it was in. It was dying and just had a rough time. But it's there to be used. So it's a great product. We're there. The end of it. Appreciate your guys' time. I talked a lot longer than I thought I was going to, but we're all good. Anyways, other questions, bring it to the Discord. Take care, guys. Talk to you later.